What up, PTP subscribers? It's Danye here. Hope you guys had a great week. Hope you guys are having still a happy and positive new year. This video, we're going to get into how to make your live drums crack, knock, pump. Let's get into it. So I was asked by one of my PTP subscribers, how do I choose live drums and how do I make them hit hard? How do I make them punchy and big? And I've done quite a few videos on this before, but I figured I'd go into detail about how to do this. First things first, if you want your drums to be punchy, choose punchy drums, record punchy drums. That's the very foundational step of making drums punchy, is choosing punchy drums. If you want your snare to crack, choose one that cracks. If you want your kick to be punchy, pick a kick that's punchy, choose a kick head that's punchy, and all that kind of stuff. Make sure your drummer is playing it with definition and punch. And really, that's really the essential of it, is making sure your drums punch from the beginning. You cannot fix something that is not there. So if your drums are not punchy and you're trying to make them punchy, you're going to end up having to replace your kick or your snare or your toms or whatever the case may be. Record punchy drums. Record nice, big, fat drums if you want your sound to be fat. That's first and foremost. Secondly, the main elements, there are three elements that I use to make drums hit hard and punchy, specifically in the live department. It's EQ, compression, and transients. Okay, EQ, compression, and transient plugins. And what a transient plugin is, I'm going to demonstrate all this in a little bit. What a transient plugin is a transient. It is a plugin that allows you to enhance the attack, the decay, the release, the sustain of a sound signal. Okay, so if you want to make your snare hit harder, you put a transient plug on it, turn the attack up, it's going to hit even harder. Same with the kick. Or if your snare is delaying too much, or if you have a ring in your snare, you put an envelope shaper or a transient plug-in on it, and turn the release down so that it's not ringing so much, and vice versa. So let's get into it here. I'm using a drum plugin. For those of you who want to know what drum plugin I'm using, the drum plugin of choice is Toontrack Superior Drummer 3. And as I said before, if you want your drums to be punchy, pick punchy drums. I'm partial to the Pearl, the Pearl toms and kick here, the Pearl Masterwork stuff. There's our kick drum, and here's our snare. Now I'm going to play this for you. And now in Toontrack Superior Drummer, there is a mixer that you can use to mix your kick inside of Superior Drummer. I prefer not to. I like to split everything out into separate channels and use my favorite plugins on my kick drum. So here we have, let's rename this. This is actually kick, snare bottom, the hat, 3 toms, and overheads. I don't really too much deal with the room, because in my line of work and what I like to do, a lot of mixing engineers prefer that I don't send them any room signal or any room channels with the drums, because they have convolution reverbs and whatnot that they want to use to put all of the instruments in the same room. So they just want kick, snare, toms, hat, overhead. All right. Now I'm going to play this, and we're going to get down to business making this stuff knock. All right. Here we go. Check it out. Okay, and there you have it. So let's start making this stuff hit. And what I like to do is start from top to bottom with the kick drum, mute everything else, or better yet, turn everything down. Now I mix fairly low, okay, so that I have headroom. So you're gonna hear this stuff low at first, but it's gonna start hitting after a while. So what you do is you find you a little spot here and you loop a couple of measures, and we just start mixing. All right. Okay. First things first, let's get some EQ in here. Let's use the Personas Pro EQ. If you guys have watched my last videos, you know that's my EQ of choice. All right. So we see the frequencies that we're working with. Let's dial out some of this. Already, we've pointed this out right here. Already, we got something. We're cooking with gas already. Okay. You want a little bit more definition in the click, in the high end, and there it is. And let's give it a little bit of low end. Why not? Okay, now let's throw in some compression. And here we go. Now what the compression does is it evens out the soft and hard hits so that every hit is heard. Soft and hard. Evens out some of the dynamics in case the hits aren't really consistent. All right. So let's put the ratio up to, 4.2.1, and we want about 3 dB of gain reduction. We're getting like 6 right here. So we're going to push the threshold up so that we get a good, 3 to 6 dB of gain reduction. We're at 4 now. Push it up a little more. There we go. That'll work. Okay. And with compression on drums, you always want a fast attack. Or sorry, not a fast attack. You want a slow attack. You want a slow attack. Okay. And you want a fast release, so that it releases that compression in time for the next drum hit. And we all know that. All right. Now, all we got to do is gain her up. All right. And we're back. We're back in business. Now, for those of you who can hear this, there's a slight sustain in the kick that I want to take out. And I'm going to use one of my favorite transient plugins to do that. It's called Transient Master by Native Instruments. I'm going to pull that sustain out of that kick drum. Y'all hear that? Here's before, after. Before, after. Beautiful. Okay. Now, I'm going to boost the attack just a little bit to give it some oomph. There we go. Now, I want to add some sub frequencies to this. Now, there are 2 ways we can do this. You can double this EQ. You can double this EQ and add, you can add another Pro EQ, right? And put it right under this and boost the frequency that you want. Yeah, you could do that. Or you can do this. I like to add an effects channel, and there's an effects by Waves called low air. So I bring up my low air effect. And I use this on almost all my kick drums when I'm using live stuff, because it brings out a frequency that just warms up everything and gives you a lot of booty on your kick drum. Okay, the preset I use is called Outside the Club. And then I just send the kick to it. I know you heard that right away. Now let's pull back on it. Here we go. So before, after. Yeah. Now let's bring this snare in. Now I want a fair amount of crack and punch in this snare. Let's bring up the Pro EQ again. We see what frequencies we're working with. Now, you guys see these little sub frequencies right down here? There's not a lot in there, but we want that out. We want all that out. So we're gonna dial all that out. Here we go. Perfect. All right. Now let's find some unwanted frequencies we might not want in there. And let's try to dial those out a little bit. And let's find some crack and put that in there. Do your sweep to find the sweet spot. Crack's right in there. Yeah. And just a little high end, not a lot. I don't want a lot because my bottom snare mic is going to take care of that for me. Matter of fact, I'll just leave it right there. All right. Now let's throw some compression on here. Yep. Let's do a good 3 dB. Let's bring it down. There we go. It's hitting now. Let's gain it up. Yep. Nice. Now, let's bring that transient master in and take some of the sustain off of that. I don't want all the sustain out, but I do want just a good bit. There we go. Let's bring the attack up. Bring in the kick. Right? That's on the snare. Before, after. All right. Now, here's the snare bottom. Now, what I love about the snare bottom is that it is already complementing this snare top. So we're going to bring in the Pro EQ and let's roll off some more low end. Definitely. And let's bring up some sizzle. Perfect. Perfect. Let's add some attack to that top. Perfect.